welcome, Sara. I'm so glad you're joining me today, and thank you so much for being a part of Finding Hidden Courage.
My pleasure.
I thought about you as I did with a couple of our guests because your story really touched me. And I think it's a story that needs to be shared with others to possibly help them through either something similar or, more importantly, courage comes from many different places that sometimes we don't even know we had. I know for myself, I think it was hard enough to lose one husband, but then when I lost a second one, I found that stamina or courage from, I think, God, because I don't know where else it would have come from. So when I turn the story back to you to have you share, I think of you and I think of your 4 children, which is, as a single mom now you're raising, but your story goes back to losing your husband. And then the chain of events that happened. And what I'm interested in having our audience here as well is, what happened? Was it unexpected? How did you get through it? What were the tools that you used that you are aware of that helped you get through it? And then to the other side, life today. And how do you find it? And as a result of going through that dark night of the soul, it has changed you as a person. And maybe you could share with our viewers how it changed.
Absolutely.
So with that, I'd like to begin with, again, going back to your beginning of kind of what happened.
Okay, so the day that changed my life was a day like no other. It started out pretty ordinary, other than the fact that my children were out of school that day.
And you have 4 children?
4 children.
And what are their ages again?
So at this time, they were 2, 4, 11, and 13.
Oh, wow. All right.
So we get up and just, go about our day. And so my husband tells me, oh, babe, by the way, I'm going to play golf. I'm in a charity golf tournament today. He was there to support one of his friends that his son was a senior at the high school, and it was for their baseball program. My husband had been in a tragic accident at the golf course.
At the golf course?
And actually the 18-year-old kid that he was there to support was the one driving the golf cart that threw him off.
What happened?
So they had golfed all day and they were getting ready for the awards banquet that night. And the 18-year-old, his stepmom had come to join them for dinner. And they were in between, the game and the banquet. And so she hopped in the front of the golf cart and the dad hopped on the back behind him and my husband hopped on the back behind her. And they were both big guys, 6'1", 6'2". My husband was 6'2" and 250. And it was, 5:30 at night in January, so it was pitch black. Yeah. No lights on the golf carts. And I think the kid, he had got reprimanded a couple times during the day for driving erratically by the marshals. And, who knows whether he was drinking or not. We don't know till this day.
Okay.
But just made a really quick turn and threw my husband off, and centrifugal force, he landed on his head in the parking lot, and that was it. Lights out. He never gained consciousness.
Did he die automatically?
No, so they took him by ambulance to Palomar Hospital and put him into ICU. I was notified, literally, the children and I got home from the dentist, and about an hour later I got a call from one of the intensive care nurses, and kind of was in shock of what I was hearing. And my husband was a little bit accident prone, I guess you could say, over the years, skiing accidents, crashing motorcycles, but typical, boy behavior.
Sure.
And so first I just kind of, shrugged it off like, oh, he's just, being a big kid. And then when she told me that I needed to get down there right away, that they were breathing for him, then I knew that it was serious. And so then we went down to the hospital and, of course, saw him in the state that he was in. And
he was obviously unconscious.
He is completely unconscious.
And breathing
with the breathing tube, with the ventilator. And I think it's probably one of the first times in my life where I really had like an out of body experience. Like, this is not my life. This is not happening to me. This can't be real.
This must be a bad dream.
Yeah, it must be a bad dream. And then the neurosurgeon took me into the waiting room, and I just remember, talking with him, and it was like I was looking into the room at he and I having a conversation, but I, again, wasn't really there, and him just telling me the nature of these types of accidents that, 99.9% of the time that the patients just don't recover.
And do you remember hearing that, or were you still so numb and disoriented? Did you know then that it was the
I
end?
heard what he was saying, but I could not process it for the life of me.
I could understand that. I mean, even hearing your words, it's hard for me to keep back the tears.
So then we came back the following afternoon and met with the other neurosurgeon, and he confirmed
The same results.
the initial, results. And so basically they had determined that he was brain dead, and that the only decision was whether or not we wanted to donate his organs. And so once we agreed that we wanted to give the gift of life, then a company called Life Sharing, they're here out of the San Diego area, and they came in and basically just held my hand over the next couple of days through the entire process. I remember coming into his room after we'd made that decision, and there would be massage therapists in there rubbing him, and his bed would be like moving back and forth. And so they really took good care of him. I mean, he was treated like royalty. He got blood transfusions and, like I said, regular massages several times a day.
Was that hard for you to see, or was it strange? Or how did you feel about that? Because most of the time, when someone ends their life, you end your life and then you're gone. So
I,
tell me
of
about
course,
that time.
was in denial through that
Yes.
initial process, and I really felt blessed to be part of the opportunity for those recipients to have a second chance at life.
And not only that, but for some part of him to go on.
Yes. But so we wheeled him down the hall, and right before we handed him off to the surgeon to go have his organs harvested, I just remember putting my head on his chest and listening to his heart, and knowing that within a few hours it would be beating in someone else's chest.
Wow. That's really powerful and so significant that out of anything, what a beautiful thing to come out of something so tragic. And to know that giving of life is so meaningful to someone else, that he actually, through his death, saved another person's life. And now we come to the other part. How did you get through it? Here you are now, 4 children, 2 babies, basically, and teenagers. We know how hard that is to begin with. Tell me about your journey back.
So I was supporting Greg's business kind of as his secret weapon behind the scenes. He was a granite slab contractor.
Okay.
So I think the 2 biggest things that I did was jump into a church head first with all 4 children. And so when the church reached out to us and asked how, they could help the kids, and my natural reaction was to grab the 4 of them and just, jump into the church.
Great.
And a few months after that, we got baptized, and we were regular attendees every Sunday, and the kids were very involved in the youth group. And so I'd say...
What a major tool or foundation then.
Yes, it
to
was.
Start putting your lives back together.
It was a huge support. So I'd say between, the church and really strengthening my faith and my relationship with God and, higher power, and just keeping really, really busy, Liz. That was, I was so busy that I didn't have a chance to sit still and be sad.
Yes.
And I made sure the kids were busy.
You had 4 others that you had to be strong for. And if they saw you falling apart, what were they going to do?
Exactly.
So you were strong for everybody. That had to take an emotional toll, though, because it has to come out sometime.
Yes,
somewhere.
it does. Yes, it does. And my daughter, when she was 17, was diagnosed with bipolar and borderline schizophrenia. So that's how it surfaced
Oh, wow.
in her life. So that's been a real challenge.
And that requires medication, too, doesn't it, Sarah?
Yes, it does.
If she wants to stay on it, which is, I guess, another story.
Yeah, and now that she's 19, I'm very limited on
Yes, what
how
you
I can help and
Right.
mandate for her. I just remember my 4-year-old who he was diagnosed at 3.5, so just a few months before we lost Greg, with mild autism. So it's harder for him to understand, certain concepts. And so he would say that he wanted to go see his dad. And then here's my squeaky little 2-year-old Landon that says, "But Cameron, Daddy's in heaven with Jesus. You can't go see him." And then Cameron's response was, "Well, then I want to go to heaven and see my dad." And so they kind of had their own little way that
the
they
little one helped his older brother. Oh,
Yes.
how sweet.
Yes.
Well, it sounds like getting through this, what I'm hearing you say is your church and your belief in God absolutely formed the foundation for your life, for not only you, but your children.
Absolutely.
And the church stepped up, you got baptized, you all accepted Jesus, and he became a personal friend and someone to be with. And then the other thing that I hear you say as a tool is soccer, and you kept not only the kids busy, but you.
Yes.
What did you do for the hole in your heart? Was it, I'm sure it's still there to some degree, time is a way of healing for all of us. But now, what do you do to fill yourself up besides being a remarkable mom in your career? What do you do for you, for Sara?
I think the most important thing is just having self-compassion and being patient with myself, not expecting myself to be perfect. So allowing myself to be human and having a down day every now and then.
Yeah.
But practicing good self-care and not just, looking good on the outside, but feeling good on the inside. So whether that be working on spirituality and your faith. I love to go for walks, in nature. And when the children were in soccer, the other parents would just be sitting watching the kids play, and I would be doing laps and, "Hey, what are they doing?" Okay. And I'd do the stairs and do laps. And that was my way of getting some of that frustration and aggression and stuff out, but then also doing something very positive, not just for my physical body, but for me physiologically, just, to help kind of calm and soothe me. And the greatest gift that going through all that has taught me and through the extreme loss is being so raw and broken open that I've really seen life through a different set of lenses, that I can see and feel true compassion for others.
I was going to say, now in this final section of our talk, how, and you just touched on something very meaningful, as a result of the tragic event of losing your husband, how have you changed and how has your life changed? And what could you tell our audience that maybe could help them through their finding their hidden courage, like you were forced to do, but you found it?
Yes. But I've learned that holding on to resentments is like us drinking poison and expecting that it's going to hurt the person
Absolutely.
that has wronged us. And so it doesn't do us any good.
Isn't that true about forgiveness?
And it may not be that the other person or people
even though
deserve your forgiveness.
Right, but you do it for yourself.
You have to let it go.
Absolutely.
Because holding on to that toxic energy
just kills you inside.
It does. It
Good
does.
for
So
you.
those are some of my biggest lessons, is just, learn to let stuff go. And it's not easy, but it's for your own good.
And Sara, as you were saying, putting the pieces back together again, what I hear you saying is God or the church really became your foundation, your support, not only for you, but for your family, which is wonderful. I mean, I truly relate to that myself. because I have a similar experience. And then secondly, you said you just kept constantly busy. I mean, the kids with soccer, so you couldn't let your emotions show because you had to be strong for them too.
Yes.
And not only that, but life deals. There's an expression that when life gives you lemons, how do you make lemonade? And Sarah, it sounded like you know how, and you did know how to make lemonade. And you were, your story was so meaningful to me that I really wanted your story to be told, because I knew it touched me deeply, and I know it will help others. So thank you so much for being here with me today, and God bless. You take care.
Thank you.